What is going on to all of my Capricorns? So you have the Two of Wands, the Three of Cups, the Magician, then you have the Eight of Pentacles, excuse me, the Queen of Cups, the Temperance, the Hanged Man, the Queen of Wands, and last but not the Two of Cups, excuse me, and last but not least, the Justice. Okay. So the Two of Wands, the Three of Cups, the Magician, all about how a lot of you Capricorns, a lot of you may have had a serious breakthrough. The Two of Wands, the Three of Cups, the Magician. A lot more of you now are able to see that you don't have to necessarily worry about a lot in life, right? Too much. The earth signs are very much so connected. The earth signs is pretty much one earth, but it's just that even though it's really the same earth, right? There's different types of earth. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is that Capricorn, just like Taurus, everybody talks about Virgo being nervous, but Capricorn and Taurus are just as nervous as Virgo is. It's just that the situation with Virgo is that Virgo actually express it, as to where Capricorn wants to be more smooth, calm, and collected with it. Same thing with Taurus. Taurus wants to be more quiet about it, right? They may show it with their body movements, but they won't necessarily talk it, right? You won't get it when they talk. With Virgo, if they're not control of their nervousness, their nervous system, you'll hear it in the way that they talk, fast-paced talking. Sometimes, just the way of being jittery. And a lot of you Capricorns, that's one of the big thing that a lot of you had to learn your lesson about, is to understand that, you don't, again, you don't necessarily have to worry about a whole lot. See, a lot of times in our lives, whenever it is that we starting off and we perceive ourselves as being powerless, that's when it is that the red flags are there, right? The bells, the sirens, the alarms are firing off, right? It's about, if you don't handle the certain situation, or if you don't take care of certain things are going to not necessarily go your way. And where are you going to end up? You may end up being on the streets. But then when you do certain things and certain things go right for you, what happens after that? Now it's a situation where it's like, oh, well, you can afford to really sit back and relax now, right? Not necessarily be so anxious about it, right? Sorella Moore herself is a Capricorn, and Sorella Moore basically has talked about it herself, talking about how, she's had to deal with so much worrying. Now, why am I saying this, right? I'm saying this because you Capricorns understand that, are starting to not just understand, but get wisdom that you don't have to, fight so hard to get yourselves a significant other. You don't have to, if you've been handling your business correctly, you don't have to fight so hard to get money, right? To live in the society that you're living in, if you've been handling your business correctly. And a lot of times what happens here is that as a result of that, right? As a result of that, you realize that the Magician, you can actually take time out to relax a little bit and not, kind of clear up some mental space. Because a lot of times what really gets people stressed out is they're trying, excuse me, they're trying to handle more than one particular situation and solve more than one problem at the same time, while thinking about it over and over and over again. Now, that thought process of going through it over and over and over again is a Virgo trait, right? Ruminating is a Virgo trait. But at the same time, right, that thought process of trying to figure things out mentally, what's going on, and having your width band here, your width band here, all this other type of stuff. If you have your width band in too many places, right, trying to figure out too many things, you oftentimes find yourself in a particular situation where you don't get a lot of things done, right? So when you relax now, part of what makes manifestation so good, if you're doing it correctly, is that if you relax and you focus on one problem at a time, that's where your full attention goes, and you realize that now you're at full, your whatever efficiency, how good you are at the level of solving problems and getting it done, you've dedicated yourself to that one thing. And see, that's very good, because a friend of mine was talking about how, or a newly acquainted friend of mine was talking about how, Capricorns can essentially be one-track mind. And that's actually a good thing. You're not necessarily supposed to multitask, one problem at a time. But at the same time, you're not supposed to stay on one particular subject for a long period of time. You understand? It's supposed to be one thing at a time, yeah, but you're supposed to, in essence, move forward. So, and this is how it is that a relationship is supposed to be. If a relationship don't work, forget about, forget about the past, forget about that type of stuff. In other words, focus on what it is that you've learned, focus on what you did correctly, focus on what you can do in the future, focus on what are the mistakes that you made, and don't try to regard the person that you're meeting next up for, and trying to put them in a hard parameter of what you've experienced in the past, because then that makes you difficult to interact with, right? So then the Eight of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups now represent, so since that's the case, the Eight of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups this is part of how it is that a lot of you heal, right? Because like I said before, a lot of people need healing. A lot of people legitimately needs to figure out how to solve those problems. And, a lot of times people don't really take into consideration that when they are in front of someone, or when they are talking to, or when they're interacting with somebody that can see this type of stuff, it's very easy to tell, like, okay, this person has to figure this, and this out. So, with a lot of you Capricorns, a lot of you want to be loved. Like I said before, like I've been saying, a lot of you want to be loved. But you have to take into consideration that there's some things that you got to work on. Like, number one, you can have power, but there's different types of power. There's different types. There's y'all didn't know that. Some of y'all didn't know that. There's different types of power. There's hard power, where you're trying to boss the person around. And then there's soft power, where it's live and let live. And you learn to take advantage of opportunities as they make themselves aware to you, or as you become aware of it, right? Sometimes they land in your lap. Sometimes you may have to do a little bit of discovery, right? You may have to go looking for it, right? But at the same time, that's what soft power is. You taking advantage of opportunities as they show up, whether you find them, right? You actually find them, or whether they drop it to your lap. And then there's hard power. What a lot of you Capricorns have been using, which I don't necessarily recommend, is hard power. Intentionally telling people what to do, right? Finger wagging, being a boss, right? Being bossy, in fact. And when you do stuff like that, what will happen is this puts you in a particular situation where people don't want to interact with that. People find that very difficult, very difficult for them to interact with, very difficult for them to get to know. And part of the reason why you're so bossy in the first place is because of the stress that's there, right? So a lot of you have to understand that, the bossiness comes from the stress that you've been interfacing with, right? That you harbor, or you have, that you may not even necessarily be aware that you have. So now when it comes to interacting with people you trying to get to know people, in a relationship and stuff like this, try to see where this could potentially go, it could come off like you being bossy, right? So a lot of you Capricorns, some of y'all are starting to understand this. Some of you should understand this, right? Because Capricorn is a very good zodiac sign to be in a relationship with, but there's some things, I'm talking about statistically, right? Like, more than likely you'll get somebody. But there's some things that a lot of you Capricorns do that can kind of potentially get in the way, Number one is that bossiness, right? Trying to exude that hard power. And it's like, listen, people, depending on how advanced they are just in general, they're not going to want to hang around you, because the way that they're looking at it is they're an adult and they know how to carry themselves. And unless it's some sort of like job where y'all are actually in the office or on the job, or you're actually their boss, where you're the chairperson or you're the CEO, they don't want to have you telling them what to do all the time. These are grown folks that we're talking about. And when you try to be in a relationship with people and you finger wagging and bossing people, that's a dub, people, because it's the same situation for me in my case, right? I'm an individual where I understand that I am an adult. So for me, you don't need to tell me that I need to go wash the dishes. I can observe that. Nobody has to boss me around and tell me that. But if somebody's trying to be a boss of me and tell me what to do and finger wagging and this, that, and the third, it's like, yo, as if I don't know how to handle my responsibilities, as if I didn't know that. You understand? I'll look at it like, yo, I gotta dub this person. And that's the situation for some of you Capricorns. You don't want to get caught up in that scenario. What you want to do is you want to come off pleasant to the ears, pleasant to the senses. You want to come off where people want to hang out with you, right? And how you do that is to live. I'm telling you the answer: to live and let live. Stop trying to boss so many people around, because that's part of that control issues. That's what a control issues is. That's what a control freak is. You having certain scenarios where you telling people what to do to the point where you don't know how to let people figure things out on their own. And that on itself is a whole other lesson that you have to learn, Capricorn, if you're going to be in a successful relationship, right? Because I'm giving you your answers. I'm giving you your answers as to not just in a general sense, but specifically how you can figure it out and how you could be in a relationship, right? Some of the things that you do. Now, take it or leave it. It's up to you. I'm just trying to help you out regardless. But then you have the Temperance, and then you have the Hanged Man, and then you have the King of Wands. So the Temperance now represents, as a result, the Temperance is about now when you understand this and you need to start applying this knowledge that I just gave you a few minutes ago, all right, to your own life and how it is that you can apply it. The Hanged Man now represents this being a situation where, because what will happen is that when you change, one of the ways in which you'll be able, is New York, but one of the ways you'll be able to know between the real people and the people who are wasting your time is when you change your ways, when you change your ways for the better, when you can take a look at yourself, right, up underneath your own internal microscope, and then you realize that there's some things that you could become better about, there's some things that you can improve in, and then you make those improvements, and yet people still trying to blame you for that. That's a dub, because they're way off. They're telling you about how it is that you bossy, and you took care of that bossiness even when you're up underneath stress 2-3 years ago. It's like, nah, you reaching. Stop. I can't hang out with you. You trying to pigeonhole people. Nah, you whack. Because this is what it is that you gonna do. You not. And it says a lot. It says that, number one, it says that people who way off like that, they're not even paying attention to you. This is another we're getting into a deeper layer, right? And I talked about this, I think, we talked about this, I think in my prior readings, right? I think it was Aquarius or Pisces that I just did. People don't really know each other like that. How many times y'all have been in situations where people are saying stuff about you that ain't even true? And how you know for a fact that it ain't even true is because you're aware that you don't do that. And yet they're still, will you treat people like trash? It's like, no, I don't. Yes, you do. You done this. And remember when you called me stupid? Yeah, that's after you stole $10,000 from me. Oh. I'm not saying that somebody stole $10,000 from me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just using that as an example, right? People will use, because no one stole $10,000 from me, but that people will use that scapegoat to try to box you in of some stuff that you used to do but you don't do, and they're talking about what it is that you do, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cap, that's a lie, that's, come on now, stop. You know, and it says a lot about that person. Number one, it says that this is what it is that they're going to do every time the two of you get into a disagreement. That's a dub. Number two, it also says that they really don't know you like that, because they having a problem giving you, if even if they did have a problem, they're having a problem being accurate on purpose, which means that they have an ulterior motive, which not only does it mean that they have an ulterior motive, but it means that you can't trust them, because this is the type of pigeonholing you. This is the type of scapegoating, stupid stuff that they're doing, because it's delusional, and it's oxymoronic, right? They have no complaints, but they're trying to bring up some stuff about you that you used to do, but you've checked yourself internally and you understand that this isn't the best thing for you to do. So now what? The King of Wands now represents when people start acting like that, you understand that that's a dub. This is why it is that I say that, you know, a lot of people, especially with this 2020 thing moving forward, a lot of people come to find out during 2020, a lot of people don't really know each other, because a lot of people was pigeonholing other people. That's what created the divorces in the first place. People who are supposed to be married now being in a situation where they're in the house with somebody that they're trying to scapegoat. They're trying to pigeonhole. Oh, I don't like you because of this. And it's like, why can't you get along with the person? No, you want to play games. You want to be on BS. So if a person is doing that, you know they'll cheat on you. You'll know they'll do this. And this is what I'm talking about with the games. Stop trying to run your little propaganda campaigns and pay attention to me. And if you're not doing that, it's a dub. It's a dub, because you're trying to create some sort of propaganda. That's a dub. That's a dub. That's a dub, because what are you doing? Are you trying to hang out with me, or are you not? No, you trying to hang out with me by trying to undermine me and scapegoat. That's what it is that a lot of Capricorns got going on. So when someone comes to you like that, understand that this is what it is. The Two of Cups and the Justice now represents, so when you leave these people, don't feel guilty for leaving. Don't feel bad for leaving. Don't have, I ain't gonna say don't have remorse, but don't feel bad for leaving. Don't feel guilty. You did nothing wrong in the first place for you to be guilty about in the first place. This is something that needed to happen, because again, and people like to make it seem as if I'm the one who's tripping out for paying attention to those things, but I know, right? Because I at one point was dating somebody where they had implied that I didn't like other ethnicities, or I had some sort of xenophobia, and I'm like, and as you can imagine, that was the end of the potential long-term relationship right there, because no, because you know what happened? It would fester, and it would grow. And the person would use that as a scapegoat now. Oh, well, you just... That's a dub. I got all kinds of people here on my channel, and I don't look down on them based upon their skin tone, their eye color, their hair color. As a matter of fact, I find those things interesting. And if you speak different languages, Gaelic, you know, or what most people would consider Irish, the quote-unquote Irish language, or Spanish or Portuguese or something like this, I would want to learn. So that whole idea of me being xenophobic, how can you be xenophobic when your mind is open to learning those things? That's a dub. So because this person had ulterior motives, then this person has the audacity to be like, they had the audacity to be like, oh, well, if you ever want to be in a relationship again, no. Out of their mind. They're trying to run game on you and propaganda so that they can put you up underneath stress, and then at the same time inviting you to be in a relationship with them again. The confusion. So let's clarify some of these cards. Let's clarify the justice. So you have the Three of Pentacles, the Four of Swords, the Strength, and the Six of Pentacles. So for future, right? So for the future, so for the present and the future, the Three of Pentacles, the Four of Swords, the Justice, the Strength. Make sure that people are kept honest. Make sure that they're honest, yo. Make sure that these people, they don't have ulterior motives. Because once they start having ulterior motives, and the things that they're saying isn't necessarily what they mean, all this double talking and double entendre talking, and when they start doing that, you know that it's a dub automatically. And this is why it is that I say that there's so many people in the game, because there is. How many people have ulterior motives? How you know what I'm saying? Like, how many people try to be exploitative? I am not exploitative. I don't want anything out of people other than just sincere friendship. You understand what I'm saying? And camaraderie. But a lot of people, they act like that's what the strength is. And by definition, that's what makes you to a parasite. And that breeds failure. But see, now you have the Six of Pentacles. And the Six of Pentacles now represents, as a result, make sure that the person is reciprocal to you. So those are just some of the ways in which you could find out how this person is real or fake. We needed to go over this. This was a reading dedicated to that I did not pick. Like I said, the cards came out. I just read it because this is some things that needed to have happened. But you need to understand how to be able to pick better, as we all do. But that's pretty much it. Comment on the video, like the video, subscribe.